It is so fucking hot right now, Jesus Christ. Ugh, my hair is a mess, I'm wearing literal pajama shorts. I don't care how I look. We need to make a video, so let's make a fucking video. And how about we make a video that's gonna cool us down? A video where we jump into an ocean and swim around. Yeah, sounds lovely. And this is a game that was made by some of the people that made Journey. I made a video about Journey a few years ago. It went down alright. Basically, with that video game company specifically, I love what they strive for in their games with emotional investment and vague visual narratives and stuff like that, and very heavy exploration and not much else interaction. I love the kind of approach they have, but because it is a vague approach, it can have vague outcomes. Games can be very hit and miss for me. And because of that, I didn't really like Journey that much. I don't want to open that can of worms though. There's an entire video that I did explaining why I thought all of those things, but rest assured, whenever games of that style come out, I'm always right there to play them. I am a fan of games like Journey and Flower, but like those titles where you walk or run around a lot, relying more on story interaction and emotional investment than gameplay mechanics, they're also ones where if they get it wrong, in my opinion, they get it really wrong, since your own emotional investment is most of the battle with enjoying the game in the first place. But hey, here comes Abzû a while ago by Giant Squid Games, founded by a few people from that game company who worked on Journey, replacing the vast desert to a dense ocean, and immediately from that concept alone, I was infinitely more intrigued. That still didn't mean I'd love the game straight away though. I mean, Abzû could have been a little bit too similar to Journey, so that was already a worry for me going in. But you know what? After playing through this game, I liked it. I liked it a lot more than Journey, at least. Does that make the game a 10 out of 10 for me? Unfortunately not. You'll see why as we go on with this video, but I can appreciate more of what this game did, and I can see more of why I'd want to revisit it, as it were. So let's get on with it. By the way, let there be spoilers. Abzû is a game with a purposefully vague story and purposefully minimalist design and gameplay, so there isn't much to say compared to other titles. You begin seeing some kind of thing emit an energy at the deepest depths of the ocean, which causes your character to wake up at the surface, meaning that you have to go and find out exactly what caused you to wake up and why indeed it woke him/her/it up. Yes, it's one of those stories, and through nothing but visual hints and exploration, you uncover every thread of what little real story there is. And I actually really liked this game's narrative despite this potentially going horribly wrong, and by the ending, what I could personally make out of it, because obviously you can only theorize, is that I reckon this is a story about a robot diver who's been created by a civilization, hence why they look alike, to assist with gathering this blue energy. Yep, that isn't water running through water, it's energy. And unfortunately, the civilization that made these robots got too greedy despite originally being very balanced with harvesting the environment around them. So things have very much gone to shit, but as this robot, this explains why you can control all of the things around you in order to restore the balance of the undersea world, and why you seem to survive for eons while the rest of the world slowly died and the people were forgotten about. I could be completely wrong, but I seem to think that's why you woke up at the beginning. It was getting too polluted under the water and you were on call to fix all of it, and if that is indeed remotely close to the story, then that's kind of disturbing to think about, since the civilization that created the robots obviously built them knowing that they might pollute the world and go too far with the harvesting of the energy. It's a little bit messed up and says a lot about human nature if you think about it. The game has got the obvious eco-friendly messages, but with the vague visual narrative, it automatically succeeds with that since it's not in your face at all. And there's a few other little side plots going on that I found really different and unexpected. The shark side plot, for instance, where it's always ominously following you throughout the game, I loved, since by the closure of that little side plot, it not only contributes to the main story's themes of this civilization doing whatever they want and not considering the implications of that, but also averts expectations by building very video gamey scenes of pure panic whenever the thing's on screen, only to make you realize there was nothing to worry about at all, and it was just nature being nature. The game freaks you out, but then makes you reflect as the ending parts arrive, when it becomes more clear who you are and what's going on, making you feel more for the shark and why what you're doing is so important. The ending portion especially is more like Flower and a lot less like Journey, where you're actively doing something with the world for a climactic ending and interacting with everything you've seen through your journey, but now through a different perspective, smacking all of these awful electric traps to shit from earlier, and then heading back to the thing that needlessly killed the adorable poor little shark from earlier, and not destroying it necessarily, but instead converting it with all of the visuals and music, reaching epically emotional heights in the process. So I did think it was a very sweet story that was nicely told. Not one of the best things I've ever seen, and it's not that interesting or deep, all things considered, when you actually take a step back, but it does the job well enough. And for the fact that the game lasts 2 hours, from a gameplay perspective and an emotional attachment kind of perspective, I think it works really well and makes sense for that kind of length, but it doesn't really open itself up, like I said, to much more depth, not much interesting theorizing or anything like that. What do you actually do in this game though? Well, I thought it was a little bit deeper in how it approached this gameplay than Journey, no pun intended. Here's why. The point of Abzû is to go through multiple rooms underwater and figure out how to open more doors to continue all from searching around, all the while releasing more species of fish from these pod things and then eventually finding the great giant towers that allow you to rebirth the great sea to its former glory, with the odd bit of fish hijacking to go a little bit faster, which I really did find awesome, and of course you need to figure out where the alarm from the beginning of the game came from and figure out what you need to do with it. So in essence you explore and observe what's around you and observe the story elements on the walls around you. I can't do puns. And the movement of underwater travel, in my opinion, was replicated perfectly in this game for an extra sense of immersion. Even flips and dives in and out of the surface of the water are extremely cool despite not doing anything. Something that also doesn't do anything, but not as cool as the flipping in my opinion, were the meditation parts of the game where you can just sit around and well, look at things. It's very pretty and very relaxing, but the gameplay itself captures the exact same vibes much better with the actual bonus of interaction, so overall it's kind of a pointless addition in my opinion, plot significance or not. Don't worry though, because the game really is amazing at making you feel like a speck, and I don't think the ocean has been captured this well for years, especially with the natural feeling of traveling through it. As you play through the game, you feel like you're blossoming the world like flower, yet going on a huge quest like Journey, except without the walking and gliding around in totally uninteresting and empty deserts themes of the game aside. I'm sorry guys, I just didn't find Journey that engaging, okay? Here, I just found it so much more interesting to play and zone out with and even look at. There's so much more to see. There's like millions of things happening in every frame of this game and full movement absolutely everywhere to see as much of these things as possible on multiple playthroughs. And there's more control and mechanics and interactive opportunities than Journey. I feel more like a part of the world here. It also looks bloody gorgeous, and similar to Journey, there's different moods and scenes to fit all of the visuals all the time that never interrupt the flow of the relaxation and exploration as you get to the center of the mysterious signal. Moods can go from high to low seamlessly and are all affected by the colors, what the ocean is like and what fish you can find at different depths, the density of the fish and plants, and the beautiful score, which can go creepy as hell whenever it wants to, as well as moving. It knows exactly when to match the scenes that are much more intense and mind-blowing and more revealing to the actual story, and it's awesome. One of the main issues though with the pacing and structure of the game that I had was actually something that goes against something that I actually really liked. Hear me out. The fact that you can go pretty much anywhere in each section of the game. Yes, it's much more interactive and more interesting to interact with than something like Journey, in my opinion. However, even though the exploring, the main thing that you do, is quirky and extremely zen-like, with it being a vague and slow emotional experience like Journey, it never really fulfills any point of curiosity you might have with the game. There are a few plot details here and there, but the main story hints are part of the linear hauls that you can't miss, and you don't find any interesting other additions to the gameplay other than the puzzle items that make you progress. There's more to actually do in a game built like this, but at the same time, there's nothing else to actually do with the extra movement aside from the main parts of the game that you need to interact with, so it's a bit of a missed potential overall. You can find these optional shells around the game, and honestly I'm glad I didn't find all of them, because from what I've heard it just makes you boost a little bit faster even though you need to finish the game to get all of the shells, so what the fuck. Let's hope that you actually wanted to replay the game after you finished it 100% and that going a little bit faster is enough for you to come back. So overall I did really enjoy Abzû and I prefer it a lot more than Journey. I just don't think it reaches this kind of apex of quality for what the game actually does with itself. It does do so many cool things though, don't get me wrong, I just think that there's a few missed chances and an overall sense of missed potential with what the game actually does. Like, I think that some of the pointless mechanics, specifically stuff like the Zen and the meditation, that's what it was, stuff like that I think could have been taken out of the game, not affected it in any single way, shape or form, but then replaced with something more interactive and a little bit more interesting to accompany all of the awesome shit the game does do. But luckily I did love how the game was presented to me, I love how it felt to actually play, I love how much more engaging it was with the freedom you have going through all of the different axes, whatever, and I was emotionally invested with the short but effective story. I do think that for 2 hours, I got this game for like pre-owned 15 quid as a box copy. I don't know what it goes for digitally. Bit too much for what you actually get as far as I'm concerned, so I would recommend this game, but just wait for it to be a bit cheaper. Like I said, I'm sorry I don't know how much it is on digital, but if it's a bit cheaper than a tenner or so, I would definitely recommend you give this game a go, and I did really enjoy it overall. It just wasn't the most mind-blowing thing I've ever played, and at the value that it currently stands at, I can comfortably and happily give this game a 7 out of 10. If it's your birthday today or watching this video, happy fucking birthday to you, and please remember to stay beautiful.